Hello and welcome. This is the All 12 Signs video series for the Virgo full moon. This is happening on the 24th of February 2024, right? This is at 5 degrees and 23 minutes of Virgo. Right, I'm going to be reading for Virgo and Leo in this video. My name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and I channel energies through my body, both physical and vocal. Just drawing on energies from different dimensions to help us heal, help us clear stuck energy, and get us in alignment with source, with our soul's frequency in this incarnation. So even if you're not consciously aware of what's being transmitted, it's all in alignment with your higher self to help clear away some of the distortions. These will be happening throughout the reading, as well as I'm going to be breaking down the astrology for each of the 12 signs and pulling collective tarot cards for those signs. For those of you who know your time of birth, I really recommend checking out the house and the sign that falls in the first house. This is your rising sign. This is where your ascendant is. The astrology will be the closest to that if you watch your rising sign first. However, this does not invalidate you looking at any other part of your chart. Say you want to look to where your moon or your sun are. That's a great thing to do, because with lunations, they are always getting activated. Just look to the house that they're in and the themes of that house, and apply those themes to the messages that come through with the sign. And so say you have a Pisces sixth house where your moon is, and health, it's health, work, routines. Apply those themes, and the themes of the moon, your intuition, your emotional body, and it's as if that Pisces energy has now moved to the first house. So the astrology will still link in, but you've got to apply the meaning of whatever sign that is that doesn't fall in the first house to the reading. Right, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Be good to yourselves, be good to those around you, and most importantly, be well until we meet again. Virgo rising. How you doing, Virgo? For those of you who don't have Virgo in the first house, this is your rising sign where your ascendant is. Look to the house that Virgo does fall in your natal chart. Look to the themes of that house and apply those themes to the messages that come through. So you have Virgo in the sixth house, and that's where your moon is. You want to apply the themes of how you work, your physical health and routines to the messages that come through, and your needs and your emotional needs around that, and your intuition around that, like being very in tune with your physical health. And so all that energy of whatever you've got going on in Virgo, astrological points, celestial bodies, themes of house, have now all moved to the first house. So the astrology that I'm going to be talking about is still going to be relevant, but you just got to apply those themes to it. For those of you who might not have caught the introduction, who are new to the channel, I channel energies through my body. I've been doing physical light language for nearly 3 years now, and very recently I've had a vocal light language activation. So I'm channeling energies from different dimensions, and they are here to support and help clear away distortions and help us reconnect back to our soul's inherent frequency. In this incarnation. So if you're not consciously aware of what's going on, it doesn't really matter. So it's the feeling, it's the sensation. The activation codes come through. They're doing some work with the third eye right now. So that the sort of sound. I'm currently working mainly with 3 guides. And that one is more of the neutral source energy. It is linked into sacred geometry. It's more downloading of codes. It's very much more the archetypal and architectural structures of the universe. This one is more of the feminine yin energy. It's about attunement. It's about healing. It's very ethereal. That one is the masculine yang energy and is linked into sort of earth manifestation and protection. And all these 3 guides are working together. We have the feminine, masculine, and neutral within within us. And they're here to help us bring these into harmony within ourselves. And the more that we're in alignment with that, the more that we are able to play. Right, so let's get on with the reading. So I'm going to be pulling some cards and they'll all be coming out. And while that's happening, I'm going to be talking about the astrology in relationship to the Virgo energy. And then when that's finished, the energies will move around and move the cards around and then eventually put them into the 3 piles that I'm going to be pulling cards for. And then I'll bring in the tarot towards the end of the reading. I've just realized one of my lights isn't on. I'm just going to pause for a second. Sorry about that, Virgo. Right, we've now got full illumination. I'm just laughing because obviously this full moon is in your sign, like a big illumination happening. Right, Virgo. So wherever Virgo falls in your natal chart, this is a full moon in that sign. So full moons can represent an element of completion of a particular part of a cycle. They can it's a very loud energy. It's very high energy with a full moon. The full light of the sun is shining on the moon, illuminating our intuition, illuminating where our needs being met and not being met, and where we've come in our cycle and a celebration of that. So this is, I work with 6-month cycles, so this is from the new moon in Virgo that we had in Virgo season. And so this is marking a closing out of that particular cycle. And like the Leo full moon that we just had, like the Leo new moon last year had a Venus retrograde imprint. So Venus was retrograde at the exact time of that Leo new moon. And we've just closed out some really big energy around what we were working on with that Venus retrograde. And this Virgo new moon is very similar. So the Virgo new moon that we had last Virgo season, Mercury was retrograde in its own sign. It was a very, very powerful retrograde, which we haven't had in the sign of just Virgo for a very long time. And so we are now with this full moon, there is going to be a wrapping up of some of that Mercury retrograde energy. Tu facili maritali dilla duscili maritali madufini. The energies are just sort of tying up, I feel like is they're tying up some loose ends and they're bringing in some completion energy. Ali madushili manina muta, and the power behind that. Isha tile madushini. Right. So you may have felt with that Mercury retrograde that things might not have been coming through in the way that you would have liked them to. Oh, hello, the Hermit. And your cards showing up, Virgo. And so this full moon is a real alignment into whatever you've been working on with that Mercury retrograde. And this is this is across the board wherever your Virgo energy is. Now, let me talk about what cards am I pulling? Okay, so I'm pulling cards for 3 different piles. The first pile is the lead up to this full moon. So this can be over the last couple of weeks since that Aquarius new moon, but mostly I focus on 6-month cycles from the Virgo new moon that we had last year. So what journey have you been on? What have you been working on? And then what energy are you showing in the lead up to this full moon, like the sort of the end into the big climax, as it were, with this full moon? And that is the second pile. The second pile is what energy downloads. So I see lunations as portals, as for activation codes, energy downloads, both new and full moon alike, because with every ending, we have a new beginning and the cycle moves forward, right? So with every new beginning, we've had a closing. So this... The second pile is what sort of energy is coming down into your vessel that is going to unfold over the next 6 months based on what you've been working on. So it's kind of like this activation of this energy, and then how that's going to unfold over the next 6 months. Now, the baseline energy for pile 2 is the collective reading. So that's where I break down the astrology in way more detail. I pull collective tarot cards, channeled messages come through. I love those readings. I get to be a bit more esoteric because I have a little bit more space and time to sort of talk about big themes, practices that I've noticed work for myself. I tend to only talk about things that I've put into practice and I've seen results over. Definitely try and practice what I preach as well. Sorry, I always get a bit distracted when they cut the deck that way because my brain isn't quite used to work. I'm used to jumpers. Anyway, so that baseline is the collective reading because it is the tapestry of how all the celestial bodies are talking to each other at the time of the full moon, and how that creates an energetic blueprint and a harmonic that then downloads into our vessels. So if you want a deeper understanding with how that's what energy is showing up with that full moon, to then be able to really understand how to work with the pile 2, really recommend watching that, especially if you've got big Virgo placements. That can be just adding on a deeper level of understanding about what's going on with pile 2. And then pile 3 is how all of this energy is going to manifest moving forward. So the unfolding, what's sort of showing up in the future. So those are the 3 piles. Now, Virgo rising. This is happening in your first house. This is the house of self. It's a very powerful house. And so I would recommend watching that collective reading for the Virgo risings, Virgo suns, moons, or it's like heavy Virgo placements, always very good. And this is an angular house. This is angular houses of 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th. These are the pivot points of your natal chart. They form this cross, which is the foundational structure of your natal chart that influences everything else. I find that all the houses influence each other, but these houses do tend to have a bit more weight to them. So this is happening in a big house for you, Virgo risings. And the first house, as I said, the house of the self. This is how you embody your sun or your moon in your actions and your deeds. It depends if you've got a day or a night chart, which luminary is the captain of your ship. And this is your embodiment, right? So say you've got a day chart and your sun rules you. So the sun is the captain, passing on commands to the navigator, which is your ascendant. And then the moon would be the vessel in which you are traveling through these cosmic waters. Now that ascendant, that navigator, has its own flair of how it then translates those commands and the directions and the ways that it moves through the world. So this is your embodiment of what's going on behind the scenes. And this is often why other people may see you more as your rising sign than your sun or your moon sign, because they're seeing that embodiment. This is your body, your character, your sense of self. So it's a very powerful house. And so you've got this big full moon happening here. This is a completion of a cycle. This is activating. As I said at the beginning, Mercury was retrograde at the time of the new moon. So we have this imprint of the Mercury retrograde over the last 6 months because it got locked into that luminary. So that with that Mercury retrograde, very similar to the Leo risings who had the Venus retrograde last summer as well, with the closeout of that Leo moon, that you will have been working on understanding intuitively how to express yourself, how to embody yourself. Mercury in its own sign, very powerful in its exaltation in the sign of Virgo. It's the only planet to be exalted in its own sign. And Virgo is the 3D practical way of observing information and then facilitating, bringing flow. For me, Mercury, the key word is flow. And this can, information flow. Everything is information. Mercury is very fast. It wants to transmute messages. It wants to bring things into connection. And communication is obviously very important with that. So with that Mercury retrograde, you would have been revisiting and understanding how does your body communicate with the other parts of your body. How do you communicate with your embodiment of self? How do you understand your sense of self? And with this full moon, we're getting an illumination of this of the cycle that you've just gone through. It is highlighting any all the developments you've been working on. That may have been certain phrases, words that other people may have seen, like how they see you, may crop up around this full moon, that no longer impact the way that you then embody yourself, right? So there's a real empowerment here of it within yourself that isn't dependent on being visible to other people, of being understood by other people, of your acts of service, receiving the what's the word I'm trying to look for, the sort of praise that you might expect from Virgo. Can be a very dedicated energy. We've actually got the service card here. Both Virgo and Pisces can very much be in service. That certain situations where you may have offered help, you may have done an action, you may have embodied yourself in order to facilitate somebody else. This is no longer impacting you if you're not receiving the exchange in return. And as I said, if you feel like you've been misunderstood, I'm just using the example of the Leo full moon, where a lot of situations showed up that were part of old cycles that just showed up in order to just fall away, because you didn't even care if they fall away, because you're no longer attached to them, right? So I very much feel this is going to be the same with this Virgo full moon, of finding more inner peace within yourself, of not needing to micromanage and bring in 5 million different plans in a sense of scarcity and fear. We're tapping into this more abundant space, this ability to be curious and creative with the way that we express ourselves. So big stuff happening around the full moon. Now, I've noticed 3 key themes that happen around a full moon. Now, the first one is trigger time, because the moon is at her fullest, right? She is most active and outwardly expressing, and this is our unconscious. This is our emotional body, our intuition. Where are our needs being met or not being met? And how do we nourish ourselves and others? So we can get triggers around this time that are in order to help us see what we need to work on over the next part of the cycle. So just bear witness to that. Realize that the sun and the moon are just providing this wonderful illumination of that which is in the shadows that you will then intuitively work with over the next 6 months. So it's a wonderful tool for us all. And the second thing is, having worked through something, a situation may arise. You then you walk through and it helps your body and your emotional body realize that it's safe, because again, it's highlighting, oh no, this is no longer affecting me. This cycle has been cleared, but it can bring up those examples just to let you know the journey that you've been on and the work that you've done. And the third thing is a celebration. An illumination of your highlighting of your emotional body, it being in flow, your intuition being on point, your needs being met in the way that you feel about yourself, the confidence within yourself, a sense of nourishment in your body, in your embodiment. And so these are sort of big themes that can happen around a full moon. And so let's look more at the astrology. So what's going on? Well, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Oh no, let's rewind a little bit. So the sun, the reason why the moon is so loud is because the full light of the sun, the clarity, the vision, the consciousness, the purpose, the will, the animation is pouring over the moon. So this is about a balance between our conscious will and our intuitive body, and bringing in activation codes that unite those two, that through our conscious and our unconscious actions over the next 6 months, we are in alignment. And so This is why things can be very visible, both triggered and evolvement. So the sun is obviously over in the sign of Pisces, opposite the moon. We always have an opposition, and so it can highlight when things are out of balance as well as when things are in balance. Now for Virgo rising, you have this opposite your first house in the house of the other, the seventh house. This is intimate relationships. This is important people in your life, right? And this can be business partners, one-to-one clients, intimate friends, and more long-term committed romantic relationships, because it's linked, this house is linked into marriage, it's linked into contracts, right? And obviously marriage is a contract. This is where you commit to the other. There's an element of dedication here and responsibility. It's also source energy, right? That intimate connection with source. And these can be things that you're drawn to. These can be things of how you show up with the other. What inspires you to connect to the other. And so the sun is there. The sun has just moved into Pisces. Really feeling the difference in that energy. There's more flow coming in. And this Pisces energy, this is the collective emotional, conscious, unconscious space. This is it is the ocean. It is the flow. It is the acknowledging all the different walks of life and being at peace with all of them. It's a very magical house, very fluky, lots of synchronicities, very trickster energy, I find Pisces to be. Pisces and Gemini really do. It's different types of magician. Pisces is more the guru that has a riddle about existence, and you're like, oh, that makes sense on some unknown, unlogical space, but it's still that exploring of the riddle. So the sun is in your seventh house. This is bringing more visibility to this area of your life. And so this can be, as I said a bit earlier about the full moon completion in your first, of any distortions around how the other has seen you. Any distortions around how you perceive the other sees you, right? So a bit of flip around, and helping navigate those, clear those out, or highlight those things that you need to work on moving forwards. This is also a deepening of your understanding of what is it that you want from the other, and what is it that draws you to the other. Both, as I said, this can be a deepening of your embodiment of your connection to source. And it can see the other, in a celebration of you. And more confidence in yourself, that moon over in your Virgo energy, that is bringing into an alignment more, a deeper connection with the other. Boundaries as well, with Saturn being there. Of acknowledging what is it that isn't resonating, and being at peace with letting that fall away. And also highlighting the other, of appreciation of you. So that we've got the sun and the moon, and that's where they are. Now we want to go back to Virgo, because we want to look to who rules Virgo, and that is Mercury. And Mercury happens to be over in the sign of Pisces. I love Mercury in Pisces. It is a phenomenal energy, traditionally deemed to be in its fall in Pisces, because it's opposite its exaltation over in Virgo. I did a Pisces, Mercury in Pisces transit series last year, and in one of the introductions I broke down lots of different examples of people who have Mercury in Pisces, and they are all phenomenal. I nearly swore there. It's very much more the poet, right? The metaphor, the curveball energy, rather than the sort of linear science energy that we have with Mercury in Aquarius. When Mercury moved into Aquarius, all I wanted to do was watch things about numerology, frequency, and geometry. So in Pisces, this is a different space. This is the ability to tap into the unknown. and not necessarily need to understand the how. Ila, so having Mercury in the 7th, can really help reconnect you, having conversations with spirit, having conversations with source, getting to the deep ocean within yourself of your emotional body. Very magical, synchronistic energy. So you might find yourself having more synchronicities when you're with the other, whether that's source or other like 3D physical energies. But Mercury's therefore is bringing in a lot of Pisces energy and influencing that into this moon. And it really showed up. There's lots of oracle cards here. There's going to be a separate oracle card reading. It really showed up in these cards. There's lots of stuff about the ocean and a pearl, right? And obviously we find pearls in the ocean. So we've got this heavy Pisces energy showing up here of, and for me, the Virgo Pisces axis is practical magic. And then we're clearing away limitations, right? And seeing more curiosity and creation, being able to laugh at certain things rather than hold on to old cycles. So we've got this big Piscean influence of Mercury being there. We also have Saturn. They are all nearly in conjunction with one another. The Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury. This is going to be exact on the 28th of February. I've put some dates in the description box, key dates that are happening in the lead up to this moon and just following after it that you might want to pay attention to. So we've got this big completion energy around Saturn giving structure to Mercury, who's able to find the details in the unknown. With the vision and the clarity of the sun, this is essentially any intentions and desires that you have around the other, of materializing your ability to collect information around the other that serves your vision, serves your purpose, serves your will, with others who are in alignment with that and you're in alignment with them. So big Pisces energy showing up. We've also got Neptune there. Neptune is our ability to connect to the all, the everything, all at once, right? All the dimensions. Neptune brings realities, different realities into our own. So it's quite far away from the Sun, Mercury, and Saturn. It's going to be more connected to the Pisces new moon that will follow this, but they're in the same sign, they're in the same house, so they're still influencing one another. So this is bringing in the ability to tap into possibilities that are beyond your comprehension. So really allowing more alignment of self with the other without sacrificing yourself. Because we've got this empowerment of the moon in your sign. Okay, let's talk a bit more about some aspects that are at play, some core aspects. So I break down this in way more detail in the collective reading, but I want to touch on some of them here for you. Virgo. So we have a grand Earth trine going on. And this is when each of the Earth signs, sorry, regulars, you'll know, since I've had the vocal light language activation, which is obviously I believe an activation from a higher frequency, a higher dimension, that the 3D takes a little while to recalibrate. And I also, every time I come and sit at this desk, I have a little sort of a croaky throat, which I don't have when I'm talking one-on-one with people. So there's definitely there's activations going on. There's a lot of discombobulation that's recalibrating. Anyway, so grand Earth trine. So we have Jupiter over in the sign of Taurus, trining the moon in Virgo, and they are both trining the asteroid Ceres and the asteroid Cupido. And so we have, this is a lot of inspiration, a lot of elevation, a lot of ease and generosity of energy pouring into this moon. Jupiter is expanding in your ninth house, giving you confidence in your perspectives, giving you a deeper sense of wisdom of how you see yourself in the universe. Ceres and Cupido over in your fifth house of your creation energy, right? This is the joy, the play, the amusement. This also can be about your inner child, and any distortions around romantic relationships, and that may have hindered your sense of self. Ceres is also known as Demetra. This is the grain goddess. This is the earth goddess. Of bringing about a sense of abundance, bringing a sense of harvest coming in with this full moon. And the asteroid Cupido is about like the Cupid's arrow. And this is situations are going to start showing up that are unexpected. Remember, we don't know where that Cupid's arrow is being pointed, right? And it is a very compelling energy that then we are pulled towards things. And a lot of what came through in the collective reading is moving away from fear of worrying you're not doing the thing that you needed to be doing, right? Of not thinking, oh, if I didn't do that, I didn't do that. If I didn't do that plan, as it all fallen apart, right? This Cupido energy is and as all of that Pisces energy is really saying, hey, just breathe and do you. Right, and surrender to all the control and all the planning. Yes, a little bit of it's really good, but we want that balance of the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang, and remain in a space of neutrality with it. You can still hold space for anticipate or lots of different emotions, but remember to carve out some space of neutrality. That is the root. So that's some really big energy. And this is with the Sun, Saturn and Mercury. This is forming a kite formation, right? Let me just hold it up. There will be a post on my Instagram as well as on the community page. You see the blue lines forming that triangle. The moon is at the bottom, and the top part of the kite is where the sun is. And so they are forming, the Jupiter and Ceres are forming, and Cupido are forming sextiles to Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury. And a sextile is an aspect of Venus. So we've got some very harmonious aspects, right? Soft aspects. Trines and sextiles, Jupiter and Venus. They want us to feel good in this 3D world. It's more this a soft love rather than tough love. And this is Venus, so it's connection, desire, love, creativity. So the release point of a kite is the bottom of the kite, which is the moon. And so this is you, right? So you are the release point. You understanding yourself is going to bring in more connection, more harmony, clearing out old perspectives and bringing in a more sense of abundance and fertility into this full moon energy. But I also see that end of the kite as also the bow and arrow, and your arm being pulled back, that it's going to head in the right direction, having faith that it's going to end up where it needs to go, rather than worrying about all the details of its journey to that point. Now, very quickly, I'm going to talk about rulership. So Mercury rules Virgo, so it's impacting and what's going on with the moon. Pisces traditionally ruled by Jupiter, so Jupiter is influencing Mercury, therefore influencing this moon. And we've already talked about Jupiter, so Jupiter's making an aspect and also an influence, and this has been happening in the last couple of moons. And so that Jupiterian energy, that Taurus energy of your perspectives is feeding into Mercury, of being in let's get this in alignment of how you see yourself in the world, right? Into your one-to-one relationships, right? That with source, with whoever, and it's then feeding into your embodiment of self. Now Venus rules Taurus, so we want to look to where Venus is, because she's influencing what's going on with Jupiter, and Venus is over with Mars and Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. They have just had their conjunction, Mars and Venus, that happens roughly every 2 years. That happened on the 22nd. All the dates in the description box. And so we've got this union of the masculine and feminine with Pluto, which I inherently see as a very neutral energy. Ila, creation, destruction. They are things that happen. We put our perspectives on them that create positive and negative. Ishali Madofa. They're all in union with one another, right? So we are getting this high frequency of union, feeding into Jupiter, who's expanding that perspective, right? And this is in your 6th house of work, health, and routines, of like being the adult in the room for yourself. I often find the 7th house gets distorted if we don't have the 6th house, which obviously comes before it, in alignment. How do we work? How do we figure things out? If you're not in alignment with that, with the intimate people in your life, then you're constantly butting heads. And you can also self-sacrifice and not take care of your health, not take care of your routines, not figure out how you work and feel good about your work, because you're prioritizing everybody else other than yourself. So you've got some harmony, some union here, a new frequency coming in, that Aquarian energy, that collective universal truth coming in, that's feeding into Jupiter of how your perspectives, right? Making sure that you are stepping up for yourself in every area of your life, even those difficult areas, that is making you feel good about being here, right? That's then feeding back into your understanding of relationship dynamics, what's important to you, and how to prioritize yourself. That then is drawing towards you more complete energies in terms of relationship dynamics. The more that you are complete within meeting your own needs, the more that you aren't externalizing your need, right? It's an inner space. You are complete. The more that you are drawing that kind of energy towards you. Now, Aquarius traditionally ruled by Saturn, so we have a feedback loop. Because Saturn's in Pisces, between Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn. Now, Mercury's getting involved here. The last couple of moons, it was Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter. So we've had this alignment of the two gas giants. They are Jupiter and Saturn. They are longer term social cycles. So how do we be ourselves that serves us in terms of the long term, and Venus wanting us to feel good in the 3D world, and Mercury in a very potent magical space of being able to essentially figure out how to pull rabbits out of a hat. Right, that is everything I wanted to say about the astrology. So look to where your sun and your moon are in your natal chart. Look to the houses that they're in and the themes of those houses, because it's likely that those themes are going to get activated, well, with every lunation, basically. Sometimes it's just one or two. Sometimes it's all of them. There's a certain person that I know who's got a 6th house moon, and every time, usually something around work, health, physical health, and getting a routine into alignment. Particularly like going to the doctor or the dentist. It's not even planned. Not even planned. Anyway, right. So I'm going to go consciously quiet and allow the energies are going to move through me. They're going to do some vocal and physical light language. I'm going to soften my mind, and then they'll move the cards around. They'll then put the cards into the 3 piles, and I'll come back round and I'll bring in the tarot with the astrology. I call you to soften your mind as well. You just had loads of information. Let that all settle into your unconscious, and then see what intuitive hits come up while we're in this yin stage of the reading. Isha lima tu finimechat in la dola. Ishilima dushita tu fi etalia lia tu it la oficina matun itina dali ishatala ishati lima shila itu to shili iti ati tu fichata itela madushine ila to shile madu ishela dina madu shini ma iti la jalima dishela ishatano fila no jandit le tu ficha Ishinima tushile maretana. Ushela. Ushili matishene. Etela. Dishile maritina motufa. Ishala mashu ufa chetanima. Odushitina dufini maritini. Atila doshile mado ela. Ela ma ufini ma dufini. Atishini marushana. Ela doshini maritile. Doshile matishini madushile. Shilima. Dufitela mati. Ela ma du ishina. Ishina ushala. Nah. Okay, Virgo, so your spread's pretty wild. So I just picked this up. So I was called and guided to work with some clay with the energies that I channel. And this one was created, which I've never done before, which was pretty wild. And I'd had quite a lot of synchronicities around clay in the lead up to being told that since my activation. And this is the feminine energy. This is the yin energy that's more ethereal and more about attunement and healing. And she really felt called to bring her onto the table today because this is a very yin moon, right? Virgo, earth and water, is yin energy. There's an element of surrender that is, because the Virgo can be very analytical, right? It can often be considered an air sign because of Mercury and its high placement there, the rulership of that. That of all the earth signs and the water, it's very logic based and analytical. That the Virgo energy needs to learn to re-tap back into the earth energy. And there is an element of surrender through that observation, right? Is to then surrender the all the how, why, what, why, what, where. So the lead up to this full moon, we have the Knight of Swords, the Queen of Swords, and the Guru card. So this is what you've been working on over the last 6 months. And very interestingly, there's some airs showing up, and I just mentioned that, and I'd completely forgotten that these were here. So this is with that new moon, with that new beginning, those new seeds of intentions of how you want to embody yourself. You've been putting it into practice, right? The Knight of Swords, there's an element of speed here, of being trying out lots of new things and being very confident in all of those new things, and then assessing how that's all worked, right? And how that's all come into formation, because the knights, they embody their element. These are new ideas, new constructs of self, new constructs of embodiment, and being able to move, as I said, quite swiftly. But because we've got the Queen here following it, it's saying, well, after that, after the trying out, the figuring things out, you're then observing, right? The Queens are very obviously yin energy, and they cultivate, they nurture, they nourish, they observe, they strategize, right? There is an element of taking your time with things. And the Queen of Swords, she's very independent. She's facing away from us. In the traditional Rider-Waite, there is one singular bird above her head. This is where her crown chakra is. So she is able to intuit wisdom from her crown to understand which to nourish. Ishilima, which of the things that you've been trying out and which is worth nourishing, which are the constructs and ideas that you want to keep with you. And so this is also working through perhaps being a little bit hasty and a little quick to, because this is the fastest horse, and there is an element of speed of acting too thinking, acting before you think, right? There's a bit of a duality with the Knight of Swords, without having all the context. And so what I feel is like there's a two-pronged thing of both nurturing and nourishing a reconnection to the truth of yourself. And during that process, often we find difficult energies, old cycles will come up, and the sort of the rashness of that Knight of Swords can come up quite quickly, but you're being nourished by the Queen. And where are you in the lead up to this full moon? Well, you are the Guru. Hey, Virgo. This is Taurus energy, where Jupiter is. I love a Jupiter 9th house transit. This is really where you embody confidence in who you are and whatever matrix it is that you connect yourself to. There's countless. And your understanding, your perspective of that. The Guru goes through elements of learning and growing in order to truly peel back those layers and get back to source within themselves and being your own guru. There's a level of commitment. This is traditionally the Hierophant. There's a commitment there, and this is also about being able to embody this new truth of self, right? This new perspective. And this is often, obviously other people see, the first house is often how other people see you. They see you through that embodiment of, there's an element of more calm within yourself. Like the Guru, more than say more hierarchical structures in certain book religions, also in spirituality as well. It's everywhere. Dogma, boo to dogma. That acknowledging that you are the teacher and the student at all times, and not trying to control, right? This Guru is holding up the peace symbol as an element of peace within yourself, that through your embodiment, you're not necessarily having to always be the one in service and providing help all the time, in a very sort of active mode. This is a yin energy, right? Of just through having that frequency that is radiating out of you. Because the Virgo energy is able to observe and see problems, right? And so we're moving away from focusing on the problem and more the curiosity and the creativity of how to navigate those situations in new different ways, right? That was the main thing that came through in the the Virgo new moon that is being activated here. And that is through more just being, just radiating, rather that more yin energy. But also very confident in yourself, which is beautiful. And what have we got for the moon itself? I really love this spread. We've got Virgo, we've got the Hermit, we've got the Seven of Cups, the King of Pentacles, and the Ace of Cups. So earth and water showing up here very strongly, which is what we've got in this moon. Now, this is what energy, this element of, this is a mixture of through the completions, what energy is then getting activated on that completion that will then unfold over the next 6 months. So we've got your card, Virgo, and this is the inner wisdom, right? Let's have to pause for a second. Sorry about that, just had to hydrate. I could feel my throat about to crackle. So this is inner wisdom, and this is inner sovereignty. The Hermit, by its very nature, isn't seeking out the outside world. It is seeking its own inner experience, its own inner wisdom. It has the star in its lantern. The star is guiding it. This sense of, the star is most uniquely herself. So there's an exploration of that, of being guided by that frequency. The Hermit is on top of a mountain, representing a higher perspective. So this deeper understanding of self, right, really an elevated understanding of self, is being embodied into your vessel. And if we think about the 7th house of the other in your life that may have created distortions, it isn't touching you, right? The Hermit energy is very protected. And not only that, but people go and seek out the Hermit for wisdom. So it's about things coming towards you, rather than planning. And then we got the Seven of Cups. This is hoping and dreaming. This is fantasies. This is magical realities coming in. Ila, multiple possibilities that are beyond your comprehension. Itila, and it's an emotional energy. So this, what I feel is you're going to be able to feel more in your body the possibility, the aliveness of unexpected, the fantasies that are beyond what you may perceive are accessible. You're going to feel it more in your body without attachment, without like, oh, this has got to show up in this time and this has got to be this way. Just the very joy of feeling that sensation. This for me is also the channeling card, right? So this can be in the first house, your embodiment of self, of an activation of more possible pathways in of your channeling. Remember, source energy is over in the seventh. So overall, just a real grace, right? A flow. You may have felt that certain dreams and hopes have been limited. You may have put expectations on them. This is about surrendering of that. And really tapping into the pure joy of the possibilities, of just simply the sensations. And crunching timelines. Got the King of Pentacles with the Ace of Cups. So we've got that Virgo earth energy, and then we've got the King of Pentacles. So I love this for the first house. This is about abundance. The kings act on the queens. Knowledge, right? So queens nurture, observe, bring depth, bring nuance, they strategize, and then the kings are able to make sovereign action because of that. This is a maturity, a sense of autonomy and sovereignty in the actions that you, in the way that you embody yourself in the world. The kings will listen to others, but will take, they will center themselves in their own counsel. And know which counsel to accept. If we think about the other. So if people, the distortions of people not seeing you, not valuing you, they can say those things, but it's not touching you. But the abundance of this card, all those grapes, they represent many different possibilities. They represent growth, sweetness, a sense of cultivation. We've got a castle in the background. We've got a big pentacle. And we've got, this is, who else holds this? The Empress is the other one who holds this sort of golden staff with a scepter on it. This is about, through your embodiment, you are drawing abundance towards you. Also very protected, right? They're wearing armor. There's this sense of, as I said, that energy protection of self, of things just bouncing off. And then we've got the Ace of Cups. So again, water and earth showing up here. And this is an overflow of peace within yourself. It's talking about that sort of joy I was saying about this one, of just, there's a renewal of your sense of abundance. And this is connecting to your emotional intuition, right? Of what's being activated is a frequency that's more in alignment with peace. Of drawing towards you situations that are in alignment with this frequency. Of really being able to see the love in things and hold that within yourself. The love of self. Right, so how this is all going to manifest moving forwards? Well, we've got two major arcana, and we've got the 10 of Pentacles. I've got the Chariot, and this is the Cancer energy. This is which obviously the moon rules. And you have Cancer in your hopes and your dreams, right? Friends, groups, and alliances, and reaping the benefits from your 10th house. So there could be an element of, with this activation, that some hopes and dreams are coming in. This showed up in the collective reading. And this is about alignment. This is about being balanced within yourself and not controlling the situation. You see, there are no reins attaching themselves to the sphinxes. We've got the yin and the yang, the day and the night, the masculine and the feminine, in harmony. We've got the stars in the sky, the celestial astrological symbols, which represent that you are moving through the world, acknowledging the resources from everything around you, and that you are in harmony with that, and that is taking you to a space of victory. You are moving through the world without controlling, but confident in yourself of where you are traveling to. This is all very yin energy, apart from what was at the beginning, which is more that yang, putting things into action, right? From the new moon, like putting things into action. There's an element of completion, and with this new download of then how that unfolds is more drawing things towards you. And speaking of drawing things towards you, this is the moon's card. This is the high priestess. She is the full embodiment of the quantum field, of your higher self manifest, Ishilima Dulfa, of knowing she is sitting in her power and things come towards her, right? She is not micromanaging how the universe is going to show up for her, but she inherently feels intuitively. Her emotional body is an alignment, deep connection to the soul energy of why and what these things mean. Ishali Madulfa, but it's not about the how. Right? It's definitely, there is a serenity, there is a peace, there is an element of the third eye activation of your perspectives, of knowing that you have the capacity and the power within yourself to bring things towards you, right? This is a deeper connection to your intuition, of your embodiment of self, of knowing when you may get triggered, when old cycles come up, of knowing intuitively that they are showing up in order to fall away, and then having the intuition of how to navigate the new landscape. And we got the 10 of Pentacles, so we're ending on Earth energy, which is the Virgo element, and this is a level of completion, right? How things unfold, and this is linked into legacy energy. So this can be a big thing that happens over the next 6 months, or it can be bringing in the energy of embodying that and certain things falling into place that are taking you to this landscape. So we see here they're in a city. And this is the nuclear family, and this is an elder covered in astrological, esoteric symbols. And this is a representation of creating things that are going to last the test of time. Cities take a while to build up, so this is legacy energy. But it's the blending of the mundane, the nuclear family, with the esoteric, with the magic, with the unseen, right? The tangible and the unseen. And when they are in union with one another, when you're in a child, like time is happening all at once here. We've got the child, we've got the sort of the in-between space between the child and the elder, and the representation of bringing every part of your existence into alignment. So the past, the future, and the present. That is activating an energy of strength and stability in the 3D world. This element of uniting lots of different things that are helping you build towards a legacy, right? As I said, it may be something that happens that's quite significant, or depends on what's going on in your life. It may also be activations that are happening along the way that is getting you to here. But with this energy, not controlling, move out in the world. But know inherently the high priestess is deep within you. So I cut the deck a couple of times and I've got communication and self-love, right? So we're thinking of that Mercury and the moon. in your sign, of acknowledging the deep love within yourself, and perhaps saying things, repeating mantras. And with this full moon, an activation of that self-love, with that Mercury retrograde that we had last year, of that really being embodied. Right, let's see what clarifiers want to come through for my lovely Virgos. I've said this probably many times for the regulars, but I'm going to say very, very briefly. Saturn is opposite your sign, Virgo. And oppositions can be difficult. I've got a Virgo sun. This moon happens to be happening on my sun, which is bizarre because the Aquarius moon happened on my moon. And so an opposition with Saturn. I am so glad I know about astrology, because I could completely understand why, if I didn't, I would get wrapped up in that Saturn opposition, because it can bring some difficulties out there. It can bring limitations, restrictions, frustrations, isolation, a dimming, right? Saturn makes things dark. So whatever you've got in Virgo, you've got this Saturn opposition until February 2026. It's going to dip into Aries for a little bit, but it's going to mostly be in the sign of Pisces. That I've done 3 Saturn in Pisces transit series. The first one is still relevant, even though it was at the beginning of the transit, because I break down Saturn being in the 7th for the Virgo risings in way more detail. But in the introductions, I talk about Saturn, the meanings of Saturn, Saturn in Pisces, Saturn with Neptune, and Saturn in relationship to Jupiter. The third series is current and live. This is Saturn direct. That's going to keep us up to date until the end of June. So this is going to give some more support. If you might find yourself, you've been struggling with some of the harshness of Saturn, because really it's trying to get you in alignment. It is a wonderful planet. It just has different tools than, say, Jupiter or Venus, which is what we're dealing with a lot with. So we've got change, we've got intuition, and manifestation. Now, all of those are basically confirming everything that came through. And I love it when that happens. It's always nice to get some added messages, but you see that fly out. This is attraction, manifestation. We've got 2 and an 8, so another 10. What's the chariot? Chariot is 7 and 2. So 9 plus 10 plus 10 is another 9. Wait. 11, 2, 2. Something's coming into balance. Let's see what other clarifications want to come. That's so hilarious. The Hierophant. So we've got another duplicate. Trainer, wisdom, understanding, mentoring. So a deep amount of wisdom, an embodiment of that. And clearing away some leftover distortions. And now we've got Mercury, your ruler, the magician. Performer, creativity, illusion, power. Clearing through illusions. Love that you got the high priestess with the magician as well, because it is that balance of the yin and the yang, that or through truly tapping into the feminine of the surrender, and then through that surrender figuring out what clues you get about what it is you then want to take action over. Right, I'm gonna leave it there, Virgo. Oh, goodness me, I really do try and keep these short. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button. If you fancy a personal reading, whether that's just solely astrology, tarot, mixture of the two, bringing some channeling, bringing some guide work, do check out the email address in the description box. Send me a line, describe what it is that you're seeking, what you're looking for, and I'll get back to you. I love to tailor to the client. I am working on my website, so eventually there'll be some more easier access of contacting me. Be good to yourselves, Virgo. Be good to those around you, and most importantly, be well until we meet again. Leo rising. How you doing, Leo? For those of you tapping into the Leo energy and it doesn't fall in your first house, which is your rising sign, where your ascendant is, look to the house that it does fall in. Look to the themes of that house and apply those themes to the messages that come through. Say you've got your moon in Leo in the 6th house, right? Your intuition, your emotional needs, and how they relate to how you work, your physical health and your routines, right? Apply all of that. It's as if all that energy has now moved to the 1st house with astrological points, celestial bodies, and themes of house that are all wherever Leo is in your natal chart. Right, Leo. So regardless of whether Leo is your rising sign or not, Leo and Virgo are next door to one another. This is called an inverted energy, right? It doesn't have a traditional aspect connecting one another, but they're right next door. So the way I like to describe it, imagine you are sitting next to somebody, but you are both facing forwards. You cannot see the person. You don't have a direct, clear line of sight. However, you can tell when you're sitting next to somebody. All your spidey senses go up. Like there's a lot of energy transfer. There's a lot of we've got obviously the many layers of our etheric body extended outward. So you're connecting in those ways. You're connecting on the subtle energy, right? And subtle doesn't mean small, doesn't mean not powerful. It is a very powerful energy. And so we've got this big full moon happening right next door to your Leo energy. And it is... It can be a very powerful activation on those energetic fields. So for those of you who didn't catch the introduction, regulars, I apologize. I'm going to do it quickly. I've been channeling physical light language through my body for the last 3 years, nearly 3 years now. Coming up soon to the 3rd year anniversary. Anyway, and I've recently had a vocal light language activation. This is drawing in energies from different dimensions to help unify, right? And help clear energy and bring in activation codes. So regardless of whether you're conscious of what's going on and what's being transmitted, it's an alignment with your higher self. Otherwise, it won't resonate. So this is going to go on throughout the reading. I'm going to break down the astrology for where Virgo is in relationship to the Leo energy. I'm going to be pulling cards. And towards the end, the energies will move the cards into the 3 piles, and then I'll bring the tarot into the astrology. So, as I was saying, next door to each other, there is a vibrational frequency pouring in between these 2 signs. But we are moving forward into the Virgo energy. So there's an element of acclimatizing and amalgamating everything from the Leo to the Virgo. So it's building on your Leo energy. So that is wherever Virgo falls in your chart, and this is a full moon. This is marking a closing out of one particular part of a cycle. I am pulling cards for 3 different piles. The first pile is the energy leading up to this full moon. I work with 6-month cycles, so this is from the Virgo new moon that happened last year. Now, Leo, for those of you who watched the Leo full moon video, you'll know that I said that full moon was clearing out any ties around the Venus retrograde, because Venus was retrograde at the time of the Leo new moon. Now we have the exact same thing with this Virgo full moon, but it was Mercury who was retrograde at the time of that Mercury moon. So we are closing out a lot of ties and energy around that Mercury retrograde. Things are coming to completion, and so we'll see more activation over what came through with that Mercury retrograde after this full moon. And so the first part is everything that's been unfolding since that Virgo full new moon even. I do apologize. My words have been all over the place ever since the vocal light language activation, because the 3D is trying to catch up. So this is usually what journey you've been on, what have you been clearing out, what's been showing up, and then usually the top card is how you're showing up in the lead up, the immediate lead up, like what's the sort of rounding up with this full moon. And now the second pile is the energy of the full moon itself. So I see lunations as portals, download points, activation codes come through both new and full moons. Without an ending, we can't have a new beginning. Without a new beginning, we can't have a closing of a door, right? So this full moon, even though it is there's the energy of completion, there is still with that what downloads coming in that will then unfold from this full moon to the Virgo new moon in Virgo season. So it's then bringing in an activation code for the next part of the cycle. So that second pile is what energy is being downloaded into your vessel that will unfold over the next 6 months. The baseline for that second pile is the collective reading. So this is in the collective reading, I break down the astrology in way more detail, how all those planets and celestial bodies are talking to one another at the exact time of the full moon, creating a harmonic, creating a energy blueprint that will then download into the vessel. So if you want a deeper understanding of what's showing up for pile 2 as the baseline. I also pulled collective tarot cards, and some more overall channeled messages came through in that collective reading. I'll touch on some of those in this, but most of it's all there. So if you want a deeper understanding of what pile 2 is showing up for you, because the tarot will be how that links into the Leo part of your chart, I do go check that out. The third pile is how all this energy is manifesting moving forward. So with this unfolding, what's going to be showing up in the future with this full moon energy. So Leo rising, where is this happening for you? This is happening in your second house. This is your resources, the skills and tools that you have to manifest and in the world and bring in regular income. This is also the things that you value, right? As well as, most importantly, how do you value yourself? So that Mercury retrograde was helping you reconnect to skills and tools. In the way that you work. Bringing depth and wisdom to that. As well as clearing out old soul contracts and old methods of communication in terms of how you value yourself, right? So if we don't value ourselves with the true essence of source within ourselves and know that we are valued, we are worth, we are worth it. The I am principle. And then our connection to our skills and our resources gets distorted. Our connections to things that we value can be distorted based on old programming. So this Mercury retrograde was helping clear out a lot of that, and now we're getting this full moon, this sense of completion. For the, if you remember the Leo full moon, that across the board, I was noticing everywhere, that old situations would be cropping up that you were no longer attached to, and like loads. And usually that's a theme that I see show up with full moons, but this felt like it was on steroids. While being incredibly grounded. Oh, hey, Leo. Okay, so this is in your second house. As I said, this is your resources. And so this is a full moon that's completing a lot of the energy that you've been working on over the last 6 months in terms of perhaps establishing, deepening your skills and your resources in order to manifest, finding new ways of manifesting, trying and testing certain things out, having a deeper confidence in your own value, finding that old value systems and therefore things that you care about have fallen away because you're realizing the core of what it is that you value. Sorry, Leo, I just had to pause. I thought the postman was at the door and they weren't. And it was making me think about the Mercury retrograde and the fact that that was imprinted on the moon, that the new moon, that there may have felt like something's showing up and then it's done a U-turn and isn't there. And this is no, we're closing out that cycle. So right, what else did I want to talk about? Let's get into the astrology. But firstly, full moons. I have seen 3 main themes show up with full moons. Maybe all 3 will show up, maybe none. It all depends. The first one is trigger time. This is because the moon is at her brightest. She is receiving the full light of the sun, our conscious mind, our vitality, our animation, our visibility, our will, right? Our purpose, onto our unconscious, our emotional body, our intuition, where are our needs being met and not being met, and how to nourish ourselves and others. And so this is often when things crop up, right? The sun and the moon, through their illumination, are highlighting that which may have been hidden from you in order to give you something to work on over the next 6 months or so. It might not be 6 months, but it's always a very helpful tool, even if it may be incredibly frustrating at the time, in order to sort of help integrate that. Also, situations showing up like it did with the Leo full moon that would have normally triggered, right? Or at least have the similar essence of previous traumas or previous triggers that are showing up, and you're just like, I just don't care. That can happen. You keep doing you, or whatever situation, and it's just not touching you, because you're now, it helps you understand the journey that you've gone on. It also helps your physical and your emotional body move through the situation and be like, oh, things have changed. And the final thing is a celebration, right? An illumination, a highlighting of the power of your intuition. Of your emotions being in flow, of your needs being met, of being nourished. So this is often why full moons can be great celebration times, because you're just feeling really good about yourself, because you're more in balance. Now, let's get into the astrology. So we want to look to where the sun is, because obviously the sun is involved with this lunation. It always is when we tend to focus on the moon, but the sun is a key player. And the sun is over in the sign of Pisces, which for you, Virgo rising, is in your 8th house. This is the outside world's resources, right? This can often be linked into sort of big chunks of money. This can be taxes, commissions, bonuses, not the regular income, which is more the 2nd house. And this is can be linked into mortgages, loans, and inheritance, both 3D and cosmic inheritance. And so this is more the resources from the outside world. And this can also be, it's a house of transformation, because for me it's linked into the exchange between you and anything other than yourself, right? Relationship, like the other, shows up in the 7th house of that frequency of what you're drawn to and how you show up, but the dynamic of the other shows up in the 8th house. And this can be your give and the give and receive energy of time, money, things, intimacy, ideas, all of that, right? And that is with you and anything other than you. It's also where, your relationship dynamic with source turns up, and your relationship with the world. This can be there can be elements of scarcity, of not feeling good enough, or puffing yourself up and taking too much, or giving too much, of codependency. It can be lots of distortions in the 8th house, and that's why it's transformation, because we are constantly in a state of exchanging, and we are learning from that always. It's the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, right? In an energetic sense. Okay. Where was I? So, so this 8th house energy is having a big impact, because we've got the sun there. So this is bringing into alignment the visibility with the outside world. The exchange between you and the outside world in relationship to how you value yourself from a more complete space. From the skills and the gifts that you have in order to exchange with the world. Also, highlighting your relationship dynamic with source and co-creating that then manifests in your skills and your tools. And it can bring up any needs that need to be worked on around whether you're prioritizing seeking those needs from the outside world rather than yourself, right? So if any distortions around people who have talked about your skills and your resources, right, and your tools, even if they're not, so sometimes when people say things to us, they can become spells in our mind and limit ourselves, and I really feel like we are clearing away some of those limitations, as well as clearing away trying to control the outcomes of things. A lot more magic is coming in from that Pisces energy that is being put into practical use with Virgo. Now, we want to look to the ruler of this moon, and this moon is ruled by Mercury, and so whatever's going on with Mercury is impacting what's going on with this moon, and Mercury happens to be in the sign of Pisces. So we've got big Pisces energy showing up with this Virgo full moon, and it's come up a lot in the oracle cards. So these are all here. I pull them before I do a transit series. I will be doing the oracle reading after I finish this all 12 sign series, and there's a lot of stuff about the ocean and pearls, and obviously pearls come from the ocean. So we've got this big Pisces energy really influencing this moon. And so Mercury is over there in Pisces, traditionally in its fall, because it's opposite its sign of exaltation, which is Virgo. But I love Mercury in Pisces. I did a Mercury in Pisces series last year. Some of the information in that is still really interesting and still valid, because I talk about Mercury in Pisces, and I list a lot of people who are phenomenal and have Mercury in Pisces. It's more the riddle, it's more the metaphor than the rational, right? It is the curves and the swerves of flow. Now, interestingly, very recently, I've noticed it build actually. So I don't necessarily get very often very clear translations of what I'm transmitting via the vocal light language, and I've noticed when I have been, that's been more regular, because obviously I'm still integrating it all, it's come through in poems, it's come through in songs, in melodies. It's more the flow rather than sentence after sentence after sentence, and that really has blown my mind, that music and that flow is more readily available to the crossover of the translation. And so I see that sort of Mercury in Pisces energy of the riddle, of the haiku, and so Mercury is conjunct the Sun, is conjunct Saturn, and this is one of the major aspects that this full moon is making. And Saturn has obviously been in Pisces for just over, it moved into Pisces an hour after the full moon in Virgo last year, so we've nearly had a year of it. Well, it depends on the dates, which I can't remember because dates and me are not friends. Well, we are, but we just maybe don't speak very often. We speak in different ways. Anyway, that Saturn is giving structure to the magic, the very fluky, synchronistic magic of Pisces. The Sun is bringing more vision and purpose, and visibility around the true nature of your connection with the other, without not just the other, with the exchange between you and the outside world that is beyond the distortions, right? Saturn's very good at knocking down foundational structures that don't serve you, and in order to keep the remaining structures that are really solid in place. And so we've got the vision, we've got Mercury being able to figure out where to pick out magic from the unseen, the unknown. It doesn't have to be rational, doesn't have to be logical, right? Of facilitating a combination of legacy magical energy with the vitality of the Sun, and Mercury being able to really connect the dots, even if there is no visible trajectory all feeding into this moon. I really feel like it's a strengthening with your relationship dynamic with source, and harnessing and co-creating the skills that you were born with in this soul's incarnation. Clearing away distortions around value received from the outside world that is has been blocking your ability to feel you can expand through abundance. This also can be receiving resources, because it's a full moon, from the outside world based on how the outside world values you and your skills and your resources and your tools that you bring into manifestation. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about astrology. Let's talk about the other major aspects that are happening. We have Jupiter over in Taurus, forming a grand Earth trine with the moon and the asteroids Ceres and Cupido over in Capricorn. So Jupiter is in your 10th house, Leo risings. Goodness me, the amount of times I've been mixing up signs and what moon are we doing and what planet is getting obscene. And this is happening in the 10th house. Got to laugh though. I'm not worried about it. It's all finished, Anna. So Jupiter over in the 10th is expanding the wisdom and the knowledge and the knowing and the faith that you have around connecting to your life purpose, right? And connecting to the career that facilitates your life purpose. Of working through and expanding around visibility with the big outside world and your reputation. And the visibility of your innate wisdom. Gonna really feel the effects of this when Jupiter moves into Gemini, where you reap the benefits from the 10th house. Because at the moment it's squaring your ascendant, so we're building here. And then it'll move into Gemini, which will then sextile your ascendant, where you'll then start connecting the dots and harmonizing all of that. So Jupiter over in your 10th is expanding, is bringing elevation to the knowing you have, as I said, around your life purpose. This can be bringing in new career paths, elevating career paths, bringing in new pathways within yourself that is then manifest in the 3D world of your connection to your life purpose. Now, it's forming a grand Earth trine. Trines are an aspect of Jupiter, and they're a soft aspect. It's ruled by a benefic. So this is an elevation, expansion, a bringing together of parts in order to expand. So this is what Jupiter does. It brings things together and then expands with it. And a generosity of flow of this wisdom feeding into this moon, into your skills and your tools, right? With the moon highlighting your intuition of connecting to them, and feeling nourished by what it is that you use and bring into manifestation. And meanwhile, Ceres and Cupido are over in Capricorn, which is your 6th house of work, health and routine. So you've got all the work houses being activated with this grand Earth trine. And Ceres represents the harvest, represents abundance, and the grain and the earth energy, right? And nourishment. Very much a Gaia energy with Ceres and with Cupido. So one of the things that I got channeled in the collective reading is that we are moving away from micromanaging. We are finding more curiosity and play in our reality, and that is allowing more of the unexpected to come through. So, and Cupido, right? We don't know where Cupid's arrow is going to land. There is this sense of opportunities coming in around the around the possibilities of elevating the way that you work, and the connection to your career and your life purpose. And it's conjunct Ceres, so there's a sense of abundance that's coming through in your understanding of your embodiment of your work. Cupido, falling in love with your work. Falling in love with your physical health and applying that and your routines, right? So we need those things in alignment in order to have enough energy to be able to manifest in the world and do things in the world that bring us joy. So big earth energy right here, creating a lot of inspiration and flow and wisdom of connecting all of these things together in earth energy, so making it solid, making it real. Now Jupiter and Ceres and Cupido are making sextiles to Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury. And sextiles are an aspect of Venus. This brings connection. This brings desire, love, harmony, grace, diplomacy, a sense of creativity. And this is all feeding into the outside world's resources. So we're finding more connection and harmony to this new frequency of you understanding your value, which reflects what you're drawing towards you in terms of the exchange with the outside world. That's all in alignment with how you embody your work, the skills and tools that you have in order to facilitate your life purpose. Now this is forming a kite formation. So I'll always put the chart up on my Instagram and the community page, but if you see here, the moon's down here and you see the blue lines, the big triangle, that is the grand earth trine, and then the two blue lines heading towards where the Sun, Mercury and Saturn are, those are the sextiles, and it's forming a kite. Now the release point of the kite is the moon, is the tail of the kite. So this full moon is releasing old ways and activating this kite energy. So it's bringing it back to you and your embodiment of self. Of the skills and tools that you have. That I also see this as an arrow, right? Pulling back the arrows. I just knocked something behind me as I pulled my arm back, pulling that back, and the power of releasing the arrow and the tension in that, and releasing it and surrendering to where that arrow goes. Right, that's all the astrology that I wanted to talk about. There's a little bit more linked into rulership because, Mercury's in Pisces, ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter's in Taurus, ruled by Venus. Venus is over in Aquarius, she's just come out. They're still in conjunction with Mars and Pluto, which is this alignment of the feminine, masculine and neutral energy and this innate power and this frequency coming through. They conjoined exactly, Venus and Mars. This happens every 2 years or so on the 22nd. All the dates around, the key dates around the moon are in the description box. And so this is feeding in a new frequency of alignment, but she's being governed by Saturn because Saturn rules Aquarius. So we've got this feedback loop between the two gas giants and Venus and Mercury of what's impacting this moon, right? The gas giants are very much linked into longer term cycles, social structures. Venus wants you to feel good. Mercury's here weaving magic. You've got Venus and Mars over in your 7th house, right? So this is one-to-one relationships that is influencing what's going on here. So this can be one-to-one clients, business partners, people in your life that like intimate friends, long-term romantic relationships, also source energy, right? Of those being in alignment with this new growth. Right. Look to where your sun and your moon are in your natal chart. Look to the houses that they're in, the themes of those houses, and apply those themes to what's showing up, because that's going to add on a more personal layer to this general reading for the sign of Leo. Right, I'm going to go consciously quiet and soften my mind. The energies are going to move through me. They are going to do some vocal and physical light language. They're going to move all these cards around, and then they're going to put them into the 3 piles, and that is when I'll bring the tarot back into the astrology. I call you to soften your mind as well. You just had loads of information thrown at you. Let that all settle in your unconscious, and then see what intuitive hits come up for you. Itali madu ishena. Do fini majitna. Dishine do fitine ot ishele ot ushinima. Ala. Dile na madu shini itila dishala. Dila. Dila, 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 dila. La di silly much. La di Ishila madura. Du fini maritila. Tula. Ishene. Ala matu facene motu. Ela. Du shinima. Tu shali maritile. Tu fini. Di shali matisela. Usheli limanda itali. Du shela. Du sheli madisele. Du ficana disele madu ficene. E la disele madu shinima. Du finima disela. Du jani matisela madu fane. Ela. Well, Leo, disele madisele. Du ficele madala. Isili madu ficene madala. Injuto no modu fini madachala matitala. Right, Leo. Whoa, what reading? We have the Five of Cups, the Two of Pentacles crossed like this, with the Page of Swords over the top, Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Swords, Six of Swords, the Hermit. So there's a lot. I was talking about this in the Virgo reading. The Virgo is almost considered an air sign because it is ruled by Mercury, and it's able to use its analytical observation, right, very sort of mental space, in order to bring things into the 3D, into the earthly realm. So we've got some swords showing up here. So it's not that surprising. We've got three swords showing up. But right, so let's start. Let's get on with the reading. We've got the Five of Cups and the Two of Pentacles like this. And whenever cards are like this, it's kind of saying these are showing up. They're not big energy. You're halfway between them being present in your life to no longer being there, right? So this is showing, since this new moon in Virgo last year, you have been working on releasing these old dynamics. Now the Five of Cups, this is grief. This is not being in flow, right? It's looking at the Three of Cups, and they are in the Three of Cups, they are all in their flow. There is a sense of appreciation and value. There's a sense of joy and celebration and abundance with that Three of Cups. Now this is all feeling like it's not there, right? Of their inherent grief, of perhaps situations not working out in the way that you would like them to. And sometimes we can fall back into those spaces, even if things are going well at the, during the time, we can still often get tinges of this grief showing up. And also I'm thinking about being in flow with your skills and your resources, and not necessarily feeling like you're connected to them. There's a disconnect that you can have with grief. We can get quite swamped in one particular space and find it very difficult to get out of. And this also can feel an element of reflection on the grief that you feel around not being appreciated, right? And not being valued. But it's midway. So it's saying whatever's been coming up, you have been working through this. You've realized, okay, no, this is an old paradigm. Do shili maritila madu tishini madu fachala madishini madu fini. Ala madu shana. That there is through them coming up, you've been working on and releasing them. We've also got the Two of Pentacles. Now this card for me is very much survival mode, right? This figure is so focused on the juggling side of it. I've got to keep the things afloat, right? They are moving, but they are not moving forwards. There's a rocky waves going on out in the background, where those ships are kind of like, oh goodness me, we've got to be in the moment, but in survival moment rather than thriving moment, right? So there's an element of through it, it's a distorted sense of balance. And with the second house, this can be juggling lots of different things and feeling like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get into thriving mode because I've got to survive. I've got to put a roof over my head. I've got to feed the family. I've got to do all of these things, or just feeling potentially overwhelmed by all the things that you've got to do and the skills of manifesting in the world. So that, again, it's a similar vibe of this is showing up in order to clear that energy, because you're in awareness with that Mercury retrograde that this is no longer part of your framework. But so often we have to take time to evaluate and work through those things. And evaluate you have been doing. We've got the Page of Swords. I love the Page of Swords, the only page that is looking backwards but moving forwards. But this is an element of acknowledging the cycles and finding vision and clarity about what to take forward and what to release. New messages, new ways of thinking coming in, and practicing and playing with them. And then we've got two queens. Now these queens nourish, they nurture, they observe, they strategize, they bring depth and nuance. And they cultivate. So we've got the Queen of Pentacles, so that earth energy of Virgo, of cultivating these new frameworks, that you're cultivating the space that you're creating by releasing these old frameworks. That is bringing in what originally was seeded with that new moon and seeded with that Mercury retrograde, that is now being taken time to sort of really bubble up to the surface and really integrate. We've also got that Queen of Swords, again, that cultivation of these new ways of thinking, very independent, of breaking away from attachment, and being able to see clearly about what constructs and the way that you operate and you see yourself and therefore see other things is helping you reconnect back to the essence of your value. And so you've been building, you've been cultivating, you've been nurturing. And then we've got the Six of Swords with the Hermit. Six of Swords is honoring you've been in a limbo phase. You've been moving from one land to another, right? And so this is, there's waves here. This represents sort of choppy water. And you see here, this is crystal clear, and you're moving into that new landscape, but you're taking with you the things that have tried and tested, the things that have worked, that you know are going to bring forth more value, bring forth more manifestation in this new landscape that you're moving to. And then you've got the Virgo card, you've got the Hermit. This is the innate wisdom that you now have within yourself. The Hermit is on top of the mountain, representing a higher perspective. It is guided by the star, and the star understands all the resources that she has within her. She is uniquely herself. And it's also allowing you to hope and dream of discoveries, of exploration. But it is this inherent wisdom that you've been embodying, that it hasn't been seeking the outside world, right? And is drawing that within yourself. You've been cultivating over the last 6 months. Now, I'm just going to pause and drink some water, actually. So, for the moon itself, whoa. Eight of Swords in reverse. This came up in the collective reading. The Magician, the High Priestess, Knight of Pentacles, King of Swords. Okay, I had a feeling it wanted to slip in behind there. So this is the energy download, right? This is a sense of... there'll be an embodiment of it around the full moon, and then that will unfold over the next 6 months. So this showed up in the collective reading, and this is so linked into all the Pisces stuff, because this is about illusion, that everything is an illusion. All these swords that you've been playing with, right? These ideas, these constructs of control, in order to feel safe, these are falling away. So old illusions around grief and scarcity, and flow, right? These are limitations that are falling away with this Eight of Swords. And then we've got the Magician and the High Priestess. So this is acknowledging the masculine and feminine energy of how to manifest, right? I often speak about how it's really good to have perimeters, but essentially you then want to surrender the how. Like, how are you getting there? Forget of that. That is the high priestess. She knows she's drawing towards her situations that are facilitating the intention of the magician. Now, this is Mercury's card. So, we've got the ruler of Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, Mercury, and then we've got the Virgo card showing up as well. Now, the magician is the why. Why are we doing this, right? Why and what it is that we want, and then the how gets surrendered. This is also your skills and your tools of activating manifestation that is then drawing towards you situations that then build on that. These are very confident energies that are coming through of alignment of your internal value. And we've got the King of Swords with the Knight of Pentacles. This is clarity of mind, right? Kings can only take the sovereign direct action that they can with the help of the Queens. And we've got the Queen of Swords over there. So you have been nurturing and nourishing something. And now this is activating action in the world, right? And a clarity of your intuition, of your frequency that knows what actions to take. And it's come with the Knight of Pentacles. So as this unfolds, you've got the embodiment of earth energy, very like embodying all of this and taking the actions that you need to take in order, through strength and courage, in order to get where you need to go. This knight isn't bothered about the journey, isn't bothered about the speed in which you get there. And I'm not saying things aren't going to manifest quickly, but it's more the energy that we're embodying is this inherent safety and confidence in the 3D realm that, with that, you then see how your actions unfold. And this is also applying this new frequency into your skills, right? Putting in the due diligence. And having that embodied in your physical realm. So how this is going to manifest moving forwards. We've got the 7 of Wands in reverse. We've got your card, Leo. We've got Strength. We've got the Queen of Cups. And she came out once before, but I didn't take her out. And the 10 of Pentacles with the Empress. So this is big shifting of energy. 7 of Wands is, for me, this figure has something of value. Again, like the Hermit, they're on the higher ground. But there is scarcity here, there is fear, there is worry, there is anxiety, right? Of having to fight off the competition, of focusing on that rather than focusing on the inner space. So when it shows up in reverse, it's saying, especially with this deck, of like, you're then falling into the honeypot, with all the bees who are facilitating the collection of abundance. So rather than moving from this conflict energy, right, of the other, we're moving into collaboration. That may be with other people, but mostly it's focusing of the inner collaboration with self, like your true knowing of what I'm doing and the path that I'm walking, I am integral with, and I am at peace with, and what the outside world, all that stuff going on in the 8th house, any old patterns with that is no longer bothering me. I'm focusing on my own abundance. And it's come with the Strength card, which, as I said, is your card, Leo. And this is a sense of harmony within yourself, between your higher self and your mammalian, instinctive, physical realm. But it's through love and kindness that these two work together. So there's a real sense of unity coming in, of, like, you see, there's the infinity symbol here. In this card, but there is also the infinity symbol on the Strength card and the Magician, and they are the only two figures to have it above their heads. So there's a real sense of harmonizing energy showing up here, of being in balance, right? Not being in survival mode, but being in balance in thriving mode. The strength of courage within yourself, of walking a new path. That is having cleared out some limitations. There's real alignment energy here. And we got it with the Queen of Cups. And so this she is so serene. It's not in this deck, but in the Rider-Waite, her foot is blue, so she's turning into the ocean. She's very psychic. She can see so far into the distance, and she is at peace. Right, so there's a movement away from fear of, are you doing the right things around cultivating your regular income, of manifestation? Are you focused on valuing the right things? Are they still going to be here? Do you need to worry? Do you need to fear? This is pulling away a lot of fear, of an intense calm within yourself. This can also be highlighting a real nourishment around your intuition, around your skills and your tools, and bringing in a sense of development. That inherently within yourself, you know what actions you're going to be taking on an intuitive level in order to build. But then for me, the key with this Queen of Cups is this element of serenity and union with your skills. And we got it with the Ten of Cups and the Emperor. Sorry, not the Ten of Cups. 10 of Pentacles, big earth energy with Venus. This is the Empress card. And so the 10 of Pentacles, excuse me, I've had a tickle in my throat, roughly from the vocal light language activation. This is when we get higher dimensional downloads that are faster than the 3D. But the 3D takes a little while to catch up. So the Ten of Pentacles is legacy, right? This is a commitment to the 3D realm of bringing something together that is going to last a long time, because there's a city here and cities take a while to get together, right? We've also got the nuclear family and the elder with esoteric symbols on them, and this represents the combination of the 3D and the 5D, of the mundane and the mystical. And when we're in union with that, we are able to create in terms of longevity. So what's being downloaded is you being in harmony with this. And this can represent certain things in the next 6 months cropping up that feel like this, or taking you towards it. And it's crowned by the Empress. Very powerful fertility energy, right? This is wanting you to feel good in the 3D world. So this is very much moving away from any distortions around knowing your own value, knowing how to create with the skills and tools that you have, and being in a flow with the outside world, the give and take between the outside world and you. Right, let's get some qualifiers. Let's see what wants to come out for my lovely Leos. We've got 3 cards. We've got the Tower card. This is Mars's card. Alarm, storms, electrical impulses, lightning. They always tend to focus on the electrical impulses. And for me, this is the Tower pulls down structures that no longer serve us in order to create space for new pathways and new things to be built. And what this feels like with the electrical impulses energy is always new, a realignment to programming in your mind. That's reconnecting to the heart. So this is it's in this pile. So it's saying things are being pulled down and you have been building on new structures that are always inherent within you. We've got energy and flow showing up. So we think about that grief card of the 3 of Cups, of not necessarily feeling in flow, that needed to come up in order to bring in flow. And then we've got judgment, results, decisions, outlook, finality, right? This is a sense of ascension. They're focusing on the decisions of being more in alignment with decision making and acting on them. Moving away from fear and scarcity of not necessarily knowing what decisions to make, whether you've made the right one. Do you need to overplan? Do you need to try and control things? This is saying that there's an alignment coming in of having more confidence within yourself and more faith and knowing that you are co-creating with the universe. Right, let's see final clarifiers for my lovely Leos. Oh, spiritual partnership. That's really interesting with the 8th house of connection with source. As I said, strengthening that co-creation energy, as well as being in more alignment on a spiritual level. And that can be just finding more meaning in your work area. That it can be more in alignment with your life purpose. Got relationship change going at the forefront, and this can also be more in alignment with yourself, spiritual partnership with you and your resources. Any blockages around them, shifting cut the deck and got creativity, and I just did that and got that and put it back again. Allowing more space for things that you can't picture to come through into your life is what I'm getting with that creativity cut. Okay, now we've got spiritual career. So there's a real sense of alignment to your life purpose, as I said. Oh, and abundance under the bottom. And that spiritual career is absolutely any career. As I said, that you put meaning and heart and love into it. But there's a real focus here on a shift of relationship dynamics, where you are more in your power, and it therefore your sovereignty, therefore that is bringing towards you energies that match that. Right, Leo, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button. If you want a personal reading, whether that's natal chart, tarot, mixture of the two, bringing in some channeling, doing all the things, there's lots of different things that I can bring to the table. Do check out my email address in the description box. Send me an email. Write out, give me as much context as you want to give, and we'll figure something out. I am working on my website, so that's going to be a little bit easier in the future. Be good to yourself, Leo. Be good to those around you, and most importantly, be well until we meet again.